Hello, welcome back everyone to Automation Days Asia 2022. My name is Jeremy and I'll be the host for this session. So it's my absolute pleasure to welcome our next speaker, Alon. Alon is a senior manager in a digital business automation solution marketing in BMC software. He has over 25 years of experience in the IT industry, joining BMC software in 1999 with the acquisition of New Dimension software. In the past 24 years, he served in various leadership positions in the Control M brand management, channels, and solution marketing. He's a regular speaker in data and cloud conferences and BMC events around the world. In this session, Elon will share with us how DataOps is emerging as a way to address challenges for data driven applications to meet business expectations, and how workflow orchestration is a key component in this process. So, with that, Elon, anytime you're ready, the floor is yours.
So yes, hi everyone. Yes, my name is Alon. I am a solutions marketing manager in the Control M brand in BMC Software. I'm based in London, in the UK, and in the next presentation, we will be talking about data and cloud, about data ops, and specifically the role of workflow orchestration or application and data workflow orchestration and how it helps in those areas. So let's start with talking about data. So data is everywhere and in everything that we do. Basically, every interaction by every person in this planet leaves a data trail. Every time you open an app on your phone or you click a web page, you are creating data. And as I mentioned, I'm based in London. And years ago, when we started talking about big data, I have used many times the example of the London CCTV cameras as an example of the large amount of data that is being generated. So recently, I checked in the media for what's happening now with CCTV cameras in London. And I was surprised to see that the estimation right now is that there are in between 500,000 and 700,000 CCTV cameras right now in London. Many of them are operated by the government, many of them by individual businesses. Nevertheless, this is a huge number, and think about the amount of data that is being generated on a daily basis by those CCTV cameras. So just a couple of additional numbers. 1.43 trillion photos were taken in 2020. Doorbell cameras generate 1.7 gigabyte of data per day, which means over 600 gigabyte per year. On average, every household has around 25 connected devices, which is up from 11 in 2019. I believe this number is from the US, but those numbers are definitely picking up everywhere in the world. Autonomous vehicles, 3 gigabytes of data generated per second in those autonomous vehicles, which means 1.4 terabytes of data per hour. So huge amounts of data being generated, and basically this is a result of every interaction that each and every one of us has on a daily basis. But it's not only us, the individuals generating data. Let's move now and talk about the enterprise organizations. And so when we scale it to the enterprise level, and here are a few examples, all of them, by the way, are existing customer of ours. Let's look about the amount of data that they generate. The first example on your left, this is Railink. They are in the business of providing important rail data to support the railway industry in North America, and they generate data from 140,000 miles of track. and 1.6 million real cars. In the middle, Navistar. Um, Navistar, they generate trucks and heavy vehicles, school buses, and they collect and process data from over 20 million IoT data records per day from sensors they have on over 350,000 trucks. And then on the right, a completely different industry, definitely a very important one, from the health system. So this is Tampa General Hospital. And they provide a real-time operational view of hospital capacity across over 50 hospitals in the area in Florida using multiple KPIs. And this data is very important because at the end of the day, it's about saving lives and being able to provide a better healthcare to their customers. So different industries, and still what is common is the amount of data that is being generated, and obviously how important it is to their business and to their customers. Now, this is a quote that I really like. If we have data, let's look at the data. If all we have are opinions, let's go with mine. This is a quote, a famous one, by Jim Barksdale, who was the CEO of Netscape. He said it over 25 years ago, but it's still pretty much applicable today. So there is still a lot of data that is being generated, but it's not only about generating data and collecting it. You also want to get value out of the data. And every company today desires to become more data driven. The other important thing to remember here and to keep in mind is that in order to become a data-driven business, most organizations have and are in the process of transitioning to the cloud. Let's have a look at some of the numbers that were published here by Flexera in their 2021 State of the Cloud report. 44% of the data is already in the cloud, with over 50% of the data to be expected to be in the cloud within a year, which means now, 2022. And naturally, not only the data is in the cloud, but also all the workloads that process and analyze the data. And again, the numbers here show that according to this report, 47% of the workloads back in 2021 were already in the cloud, with the expectation of this number to grow in a year to 55%. So there are obviously very good reasons for that, for the usage of cloud to store and process data. And this is not only taking advantage of the flexibility and the agility that the cloud provides, but also taking advantage and using all the rich set of data management services provided by the cloud vendors such as Google, AWS, Azure, and taking advantage of all the other supporting technologies in the cloud ecosystem. So the cloud is definitely a key component here when it comes to managing and processing data. Now, on the previous slide, I have mentioned that companies are in the process of moving to the cloud and transitioning their business, the data, the processing to the cloud. It's a process, it's a journey. It doesn't happen in one day. And reality is that most of the organizations still operate in a hybrid cloud environment. The quote you see here is from Forrester, and we have been hearing the same from the Fortune 5,000 customers we talk to. And in this journey of moving to the cloud, there are multiple challenges. One of them is being able to operate production data and applications in a hybrid environment. Some of it is on premises, some of it is still on the cloud. Now, Not every company can lift and shift everything to the cloud. Not all the applications can or should be moved to the cloud, and not all data is one size fits all. So the hybrid environment is the most common state for most of the organizations, and it will be like that for many companies for many years. And in this hybrid environment, you must manage for agility in order to deliver the required business outcomes. And that's a challenge. A vast majority of data and analytics initiatives fail to meet the expectations. And you can see some of the numbers here. For example, only 40% of the companies are managing data as a business asset. 47% of the data projects never make it to production. This is based on InfoWorld from 2021. It's a huge number. It means that almost 50% of the projects that organizations are working on um, with data fail to make it to production. And only 19% of the companies manage to create a data-driven culture. And those numbers shows that organizations are struggling to become data-driven. So this is why companies adopted DevOps and now are rapidly adopting DataOps. And the idea is to work as unified teams across the variety of applications, data, and platforms of the modern hybrid computing environment. There are many definitions of DataOps out there, but to keep it simple, DataOps is basically bringing the DevOps best practices to the field of data management in order to rapidly get new insights into fully production deliverables that unlock the business value from the data. In the next few slides, I would like to talk to you about one of the principles of data ops, and that's orchestration. And what I'm sharing here, this is a screenshot from the data ops manifesto listing the different principles. And as you can see, principle number 10 is about orchestration and the importance of having end-to-end orchestration of data and the associated work. So why is data and application orchestration so important, and what are the major difficulties in doing it right? Data pipeline workflows are complex. And as we saw earlier in the numbers, many organizations are struggling to deliver data-driven projects at enterprise scale. If we look at a typical data pipeline, we will usually see a couple of major steps, as you can see right now in front of you. First, on your left, ingesting the data that can happen from many different types of sources. More traditional ones like files, databases, ERP systems, and other systems of records, as well as modern ones such as IoT, sensors, social media, machines, and so on. So this whole process of ingesting data into your data pipeline is not trivial, it's quite complex, and can include multiple sources of data. Then the next step is storing and processing the data. We will cover it in the next few slides, but this is quite complex. It can happen on premises, it can happen on cloud, and as we saw in the previous slides, many times it will happen in a hybrid environment. And finally, on your right, this is the last step, probably the most important one, of actually delivering insights, analytics, and delivering the required insights to the business. On top of that, there are many other activities involved in the process of moving data cleaning it, filtering it, aggregating it. All of that needs to take place in the right order, at the right time, every time. Otherwise, you will run into issues and problems with the execution of the data pipeline and will not get the expected results to the business. Sounds quite simple, but in reality, each and every step here involves a heavy mix of tools and technologies across on-premises and cloud environments. So let's talk a bit more about the complexity. And um, first, let's talk about cloud and cloud storage. As I mentioned earlier, each and every cloud vendor, they have their own solution for storing and managing data. So, for example, on AWS, multiple solutions such as AWS S3. On Azure, we have solutions such as blob storage. On Google, obviously, Google Cloud. So, a rich set of solutions provided by the cloud vendors to store and manage data. And then we have obviously system of records, right? And multiple solutions, for example, mainframe and JCLs. Then you can have crontops and Windows, a task manager on Windows. So crontab on Unix, task manager on Windows. Then you may have SAP systems, obviously SAP jobs, including their screens to manage those jobs in SAP environment. And you get the picture. Multiple solutions for processing and storing data across on-premises and uh, multiple cloud environments. Quite complex, different technologies, different cloud vendors, different services, different platforms. So, what we have been doing with our solution called Control M, this is our solution for application and data workflow orchestration. And this is really about simplifying the complexity of the application layer and deliver what we call the freedom within the framework. So we act here as a bridge connecting data and ops, and we are doing it across diverse infrastructure and technology. We talked about the complexity, and Control M abstracts this complexity by allowing customers to automate the entire workflow, the entire application and data workflow from a single pane of glass, as you can see right now in front of you. Each and every box represents a job that can run on premises or cloud. It can be a mainframe or Unix or file transfer or SAP or cloud services, an AWS batch or Azure or Google. And the list obviously is long, the list of technologies that can be a part of your business process. So using Control M, as you can see right now in front of you, you can get the end-to-end orchestration, the end-to-end visibility of your entire business process, of your entire data pipeline, no matter where it runs and which technology is being used. It's being done across different applications, data, and infrastructure, providing the integration needed between legacy and modern environments, and very important, removing the silos of automation along the way. And finally, it's not just about the full orchestration of the data pipeline, but also about providing strong operational standards, capabilities. For example, SLA management. You want to be able to assure that you define your service levels and then assure that your SLAs are met. And if there is a problem, in your data pipeline, you want to know about the problem well in advance to fix it on time and assure that your SLA is met. Auditing and governance. You want to assure that you have each and every action, each and every activity within your data pipeline, initiating it, stopping it, problems along the way are being audited in case you want to go backwards and understand what happened, who did what, and what the result was. Self-service capabilities. You want to be able to provide easy-to-use access to the business users or other people in your organization that maybe are not that technical. So all of that is provided in our solution, Control M, with the end-to-end orchestration, the end-to-end visibility of your entire data pipeline and the associated business process. As you can see here, a couple of examples. Some of the jobs can be system of records, other can be running Google services such as Dataflow or Azure Data Factory or Azure Blob Storage or AWS S3 or EMR or Glue, and the list obviously is long. It doesn't matter which technology you are using, it doesn't matter which platform you are running at, we can orchestrate it end-to-end and provide you the end-to-end orchestration and visibility. All right, so let's talk a bit about some of the challenges when it comes to production at scale. And those challenges may be associated with running successfully data pipelines in production and doing it at scale. First, visualization of the data pipeline. You want to get, as I mentioned earlier, end-to-end visibility of your entire data pipeline. You don't want silos of automation. You don't want to run into the risk of processes failing because not everything is monitored successfully from the same place. Then the cross-team collaboration. Every organization now includes different personas: developers, operations, architects, data architects, cloud architects, business users, and the list is long. You want to be able to assure that those teams can collaborate when it comes to running, defining, and running successfully the data pipelines. Operational standards. As I mentioned earlier, you want to assure that standards are applied, job names, machines that will be used along the way, and obviously you want to assure that SLAs and other important standards are in place. The broad scope, allowing the business owners to get the access to the information they need about the services. This is really important. You want each and every business user to understand the status of his business process. And if something is wrong, they want to get this information in advance and involve the right people in the organization, be it the operations or a different department, in order to assure that those services are running successfully. And finally, it needs to be robust and resilient. You want to be able to identify problems in advance, predict issues and delays in your data pipeline, and automate remediation. It needs to work on time, every time. So how do we address these challenges with our solution? And before I go into more details, how we are doing it and how we've been helping organizations to operate in production, I would like to refer to an article that I read recently, written by Joe Peppard, who used to work as an MIT scientist. And in this article, he talks about the role of IT and the changes in the role of IT. And he mentions this phrase, the freedom within the framework. And the idea here is very simple. Think about children playing in a sandbox, using the toys and that are available to them. They know what to do and how to play, and we all know that if you don't set up the rules, there will be chaos. So back to data pipeline orchestration challenges and the multiple personas involved, the idea here is to define a framework and give all the different personas, developers, architects, operations, business users, all the different players, the right tools to use and express their freedom from within the framework. As humans, we are wired to have boundaries where we can express our freedom. And our experience is that companies that make a strategic decision to create freedom within the automation and orchestration framework can go as fast and be as agile as they want, with confidence, security, and governance in production with the orchestration platform. So, going back to the major steps of data pipeline, of ingesting the data, storing the data, processing it, and delivering insights. As you can see, and as I mentioned earlier, it's quite complex. Ingesting data on the left side, it can be done from multiple sources, more traditional ones, such as databases and files and ERP systems, as well as modern ones as social media, IoT devices, sensors, and so on. Quite complex. Let's have a look at the storage and process of the data. Multiple technologies. You can see here a very small list of examples, such as Hadoop, Uzi, solutions provided by cloud vendors such as Azure, AWS, Amazon S3, Azure Data Factory, blob storage from Azure, Google solutions, Snowflake, and the list is long, a long list of solutions for storing and processing data. And the list is getting longer day by day. Every day, the cloud vendors provide new services to manage data, as well as other players in the cloud and data ecosystem. And then on the right, multiple solutions for providing the analytics, the insights, solutions such as Click and SAS and Tableau. And again, the list is long, and we have the cloud vendors providing many new services on a regular basis. This is quite complex. It's very difficult to orchestrate your entire data pipeline across the long list of data sources, technologies, across the different steps. And what we do with Control M is really abstract this complexity, provide the end-to-end orchestration across all the different technologies that you are using today or may decide to use in the future. I will not go too much into details, but we have built-in integration capabilities with a long list of technologies, as well as provide easy ways of creating your own integration with new technologies that you may require in your environment. Finally, I would like to mention that our customers have a choice. They can use Control M the traditional way, meaning that Control M can be installed on premises or on the cloud, but using it the traditional way, or take advantage of our relatively new SaaS offering that has been in the market for, I believe, 2 years now. That's what we call Helix Control M. So it means that we offer now the capability of using or consuming application workflow orchestration as a service. That's being Helix Control M. So our customers can choose use it the traditional way or go SaaS and take advantage of our solution called Helix Control M. All right, so that was a quick 30 minutes introduction into application and data workflow orchestration and the key role it plays in the world of data, DataOps, and cloud. specifically with the complexity of hybrid cloud environments. And with that, I think we are ready for questions, if there are any questions.
Alon, for the sharing session. Yes, so we do have some time left for the Q&A session. So for those of you, if you have any questions, please use the question feature on the right-hand side of the screen to ask your questions, okay? So we'll start with the first question first. Let me project the question on the screen. All right. So Alon, if you want to see the question, you can stop sharing and then go back to the window. Then you can see the question. Yep.
Yeah.
So the first question is, what is the reason for most organizations failing to adopt being data-driven?
All right. So as I mentioned, data pipelines and data projects are quite complex. And as you saw during this presentation, there is a lot of complexity involved. And the complexity is a result of multiple technologies that are being used along the process. So data projects usually include processes that may run in different machines, different platforms, across different technologies. Sometimes they include legacy systems like mainframe or ERP systems. Many times file transfers are involved in this process. And then we have cloud and all the rich set of services, data management services provided by the cloud vendors. This is quite complex. It requires a lot of integration, and many times it means also the need for lots of manual work, lots of scripting. It's difficult. It's difficult to build it, and even more difficult to run it successfully in production, to test it and run it successfully in production. So this is the main reason, the complexity of those projects. Another reason, which also I mentioned, is the different personas involved. You have developers, you have operations that need to run it successfully, you have business users. They don't necessarily speak the same language, same technology language. They don't necessarily use the same technologies. It all makes it complicated and complex. And that's why having this framework of application and data workflow helps achieve those targets and move successfully and safely those applications to production.
Okay. Thanks for that, Alon. Then move on to the next question. 1 second, let me project that question. Okay. What would be your number one tip for companies to become a data-driven company, and where to start? That's a good question.
Yeah, yes, it's a very good question. So a couple of things. First is identifying what would you like to achieve out of the data. This is really important. As I mentioned earlier, it's not only about capturing the large amounts of data. It's also about understanding what are the insights that you would like to get out of this data in order to support your business and help your customers and remain competitive. The other thing that is important is to understand that data is an asset. Data is an asset, and you need to treat it as an asset. It's a key asset to your organization. And finally, from our side, manage it successfully. And it means having the right tools in place, including application and data workflow orchestration solutions, to assure that the data is managed successfully.
All right, thank you for that. So if I'm hearing you correctly, the first step is to make sure that you have a business objective, and then make sure that you are aware that data is an important asset for your company. And then last one, to manage it successfully, right? To keep it simple.
Correct.
Okay, thanks for that, Alon. So do we have any last minute questions from the participants? Any question? No? Okay, then with that, Alon, I'd like to thank you once again for joining this event, and I hope to see you in the next one.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Thank you. You too. So
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So for the rest of the participants, we do have one last session. Let me share my screen. Give me 1 second. So if you can see my screen, the last session will be the Automation Days Asia Award, which will be it's a giving ceremony. So we'll be giving out awards to some of the automation projects of the year or some of the thought leaders within the automation knowledge domain. So I hope to see you there. Please join in. Okay. Thank you. Bye bye.